Hi everyone and welcome to my Ivan's vlog, everything about balls. Today I'm gonna talk about pressure and oil that you can use to lubricate the valve because I got a lot of questions about this topic, so I'm gonna try to answer it as honestly as possible. So welcome to this episode. First of all, let's talk about the pressure of the ball, because it's also really important. If you want to play a sport, it's definitely important that your ball is perfectly inflated. And for example, for a volleyball, it's between 0.3 and 0.325 bars. So the margin is not really big, so you have to be very careful about it. And of course, if you have a pressure gauge, then it's always better. Then you can read, of course, what the pressure is. I have two versions of this. The first one is this. This is an analog version of the ball gauge, and it's really good. It's also not very expensive. I think it's around 20 euros, I think. So you can buy it everywhere. And of course, you also have a digital gauge like this one from Mikasa that I also always use for inflating and checking the pressure of the ball. It's a little bit more expensive, this one, but it's also a lot better because the margin for error is a lot smaller than an analog one. You also have some other stuff like a pressure gauge that looks like a pen. I also included a picture because I didn't have that before. But if you want, you can also use that. And if you don't have a gauge, what you also can do is just bounce the ball and feel with your fingers if the pressure is okay or not. And I can also, by experience, can hear when I bounce the ball by the pitch of the ball. I can also hear if the pressure is okay or not. And of course, I double check it with my pressure gauge, and most of the time it's quite okay, I think. So I'm very happy about that. So if you can afford a pressure gauge, I would certainly recommend it, because it's really important to check the pressure. And for a volleyball, of course, it's definitely necessary, because for the beginning of every game, the pressure is checked by the referee. So that's something also you should know. Soccer is a little bit more easier. The referee just checks the pressure of the ball just by bouncing on the floor. He says, yeah, it's okay, and that's it. For basketball, sometimes they also do an elbow check. And what does that mean? Well, the referee throws the ball up, let it bounce, and then when he reaches the elbow, the pressure is okay. Yeah, I know it's weird, but that's the way they check it. In volleyball, we always use a pressure gauge, just to be certain, because with volleyball, the pressure margin is really small. Also, something I want to talk about is oil, because I also got a lot of questions about what oil you use to lubricate the valve. I always use a select one, so you can maybe already have seen it in one of my previous videos. I always use select oil because this is a really thin oil, and that's absolutely perfect for the valve. So if you don't want to buy that, it's also possible to buy another kind of oil, but it has to be really thin as possible. Non-abrasive also, because if it's abrasive and you put it in the valve, then of course you also get a lot of problems with the rubber of the valve. So a very thin oil should I recommend as the best oil to use. And the select oil is not really that expensive. It's only about, I think, 6 euros that I had to pay. So it's also around 5 or 6 United States dollars. So I think it should be okay. I should definitely recommend that you buy this, and I think you're gonna be really happy with that. So I also double checked the values for inflating the ball. For volleyball, of course, it's easy because I know by heart. It has to be between 0.3 and 0.325, and in PSI it's between 4 and 4.7. So I didn't know. I had to look it up because I don't know. I don't work with PSI, but now I know. Basketball should be between 0.5 and 0.7 bar, or 7 and 9 PSI. And for a soccer ball, it has to be a lot more, because it has to be between 0.8 and 1 bar, or 11.6 and 14.5 PSI. And I think some soccer players prefer a harder ball, so around the 1 bar margin. But in volleyball, I know that some players like the softer ball, so around 0.3 and not 0.325, because then it's maybe a little bit too much. Also, what I have noticed, because the ball is being used during the game, when you check the pressure after the game, the pressure has increased. And that's also because of the friction of the ball and the arms, or the ball and the floor, and also the heat that comes from our bodies. So also sometimes I have to double check the pressure of the ball during the game, because it tends to get too high, and that's also not good for a game. So then I have to lower it a little bit, and then the players should be perfect with this. So thank you for watching this episode. I hope you learned a little bit about pressure and oil, because it's also really important if you want to use your game ball the right way. Don't forget to subscribe and hit of course, the bell icon if you want to receive notifications. If you want to leave a comment down below, no problem, and I will respond as soon as possible. Thank you for watching, and see you next time.